Hi, I'm Pedro from Coffee Parts, and today we're looking at the Pasado TPD, temperature pressure device. We're going to look in this video at what this device is, how to use it, and if you're not getting the results you want, what to do about it. So first things first. So what is this? This is a portafilter with a thermometer and a pressure gauge to measure your coffee at the grip head of the machine. Now the reason this is important is there's a lot of variables that go into coffee, from when you buy the beans, how you grind, tamp, dose, and run it into your machines. And one of the variables is both temperature and pressure. Machines have gauges, but generally that gauge, it depends where the line of the pump pressure is being fed from. So that gauge can be right at the pump or somewhere down the line, generally not in the group head. And when it comes to temperature, depending on which machine you have, it's either going to be a pressure stat, which you won't really have a gauge for, or PID, but once again, you're generally measuring that PID in the boiler and it's not reflective of what's coming out of the group head. And when you're running coffee, depending on the coffee you want, you're gonna want a particular pressure and temperature to say 8 bars at 91 degrees. So you need a tool like this to know what's happening at the group head and what changes you can do in the machine to reflect this. So putting this into a machine, basically you just lock it into your portafilter and run the group. So we've got the Pasado TPD, and what we're trying to do is measure the temperature and the pressure at the group head. We've got the Akaya Lunar scale here on a self-tiring. We'd automatically start the timer because we want about 1 mil per second to get that measurement correct. Just putting in the cup, bringing up the group. We've got the timer just started, and as we go through, we see we're just sitting under 9 bars, and both on the machine and the group head, so it's sitting quite right. And the temperature now just getting it to a bit over 90 degrees. Once again, kind of where we want it. It really depends on your setup though, and we'll get a bit more into adjusting it after. That's it, so we've got the head basically running at 91 degrees on 9 bars. There is a flow rate control, so you can turn it off to measure the pure pressure at the group head, to say like if you're back flushing, and you can open the flow, which you want about it to be flowing at about 1 mil per second to work out the correct temperature. The best way to do that is using a scale like the Akaya Lunar, where you can set into the auto tart and timing function. Now, if you did get this and you're not getting the results you require, so just say your temperature is too low or too high, there is a few things you can do to adjust. It really depends on what machine you have. Generally, when it comes to adjusting your pump pressure, so there's 2 different styles of pumps. There's your rotary pumps and your vibrating pumps. Technically, there's also geared pumps, but they're a whole different ballgame. With your rotary pump, if you do need to adjust them, they generally have a needle valve here on the side. And you as adjust the needle valve, it basically opens and closes the valve in here, allowing more water through. So if you think about it's a pump moving a shaft and pushing water. So the needle valve here adjusts the flow, and that flow directly ends up affecting your group head. On vibrating pumps, it's slightly different. 2 common styles of vibrating pumps are like the Flutotech and your Orca. Now these pumps you can't adjust. The way you adjust them is generally with a bypass valve. And on the bypass valve, it's got a little adjustment. So on this one, it's actually here at the top. And it allows a portion of it back into the tank and a portion of it to the group head. So by adjusting the bypass, you adjust your pressure at the group head. And that's how you adjust your pump side or your pressure at the group head, if it's a rotary or vibrating pump. Once again, this is more of a job of a technician, but in many cases it is easy to do. Like on a lot of domestic high-end machines, the pump sits sideways so that the adjustment on the valve actually pops through the bottom of the machine, so you can get a little screwdriver and turn it. The vibrating pumps is more of an internal thing. When it comes to temperature at the group head, it depends on which machine you have, whether it's a dual boiler or multi-boiler machine or a heat exchange, but they're generally going to come and be adjusted by one of 2 things, either a pressure stat or a PID. If it's a PID, it's super easy. It's a little digital display, you've got an up and down arrow, and there you go. On some machines, they're external, so on the Lamazokoi, it's a little dial under it. On a Rocket, a lot of times it's behind the drip tray or on the front of the machine, and etc. They're generally super accessible. If it's a pressure sat, then they're inside the machine. But once again, they're easily adjustable. Two common types of pressure sat are your bigger ones, which are something like this. In this case, it's made by Asco, but they're also made by Serai and Parker. Or your smaller ones like this, they're your Martas or CME. There's quite a few different brands that make these little ones. And the adjustment is simple. There's a little dial on them with a screwdriver, you just turn them. So in the little ones, they're up here. On the big ones, once again, they're at the top, just here, and they're just easily dialed in. But you do need the Pasado TPD or a similar product to know what's happening at the group head when you do adjust these, because the displays on the coffee machines really showing you what's happening in the boiler. It's relevant, but it's good to know both. Thank you for watching this video on the Pasado TPD. I hope it brought some context into why you need to measure your temperature and pressure at the group head, and if you found it informative. If you've liked this video, hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you again.